Fresh drama is currently unfolding with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and a quest now to return to the legislative duties, and it's gripping the nation right now. Yes, that fresh drama, the National Assembly, precisely the Senate, is gripping the nation. Though her 6-month suspension officially ended September 4, the Senate, through a letter from Acting Clerk Dr. Yahaya Danzaria, has ruled that she remains suspended until the Court of Appeal delivers its judgment, explaining that the matter is still sub judice. Well, this despite the Federal High Court earlier declaring the lengthy suspension excessive and ordering her recall. Unsurprisingly, lawyers as well as the opposition People's Democratic Party have opposed this move by the Senate. The PDP denounced the move as a threat to democracy. That's a quote though, threat to democracy. And they labeled that for the, quote, highly provocative. And the quote, they are telling the Senate to withdraw the letter immediately. Well, legal practitioners in the country have spoken, they've waded into the matter as well, and they say that pending an appeal, the court's original order should stand, right? And they say that that means that Natasha has every right to resume her duties. I'm joined today on HOMO POLITICUS by barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, Maduka. He joins me virtually today. Many thanks for joining me, Maduka.
Yeah, thank you, Kingsley. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate that. Well, let's get straight to the conversation. I'd like to know if you're satisfied with the way the Senate has handled the matter so far, right? There have been talks around the politicization of this suspension and the rest. But what does the law say? And you satisfied with the Senate's handling of this matter, blocking a suspension?
Well, nobody is satisfied, nobody is happy. It's a very sad day for democracy, it's a very sad day for the rule of law. And the major issue here is how castrated the judiciary has become and the complicity of even the judiciary in this castration. And you can see where the Senate writes, or the clerk of the Senate purports to write to somebody and say, the matter is in court, so you cannot resume even after the period of the suspension, which is, what led to the court action has elapsed. Then you see how bad the country has gone, because you have a situation where there was a directive by the court saying that Natasha should be recalled as the suspension was excessive. And it was even a senior advocate who represented the Senate that said, that the order of the court was merely advisory, that is not declaratory, it wasn't an order. And based on that, the Senate could disobey the order and not allow her return back. And then after that, there's an appeal, which of course, there was a cross appeal by the Senate, there was an appeal by Senator Natasha. And then they are now saying again, we have to respect the court and until the matter the appeal is disposed of. And then you can then come back. So it's like speaking from both sides of the mouth. You won't respect the judgment of the court, but now you want Senator Natasha to, respect the appeal process and let it run its full course. Then another issue is, some issues in this case have become academic. There are some orders that the court cannot make anymore. The court cannot make an order to say Senator Natasha should go back to the Senate because even the period of the suspension has elapsed. So there is no need for the order of asking her to return back. So what the court can determine in this issue would be whether her suspension was legal and lawful. And also issues such as the denial of her salary, for that period, locking up her office, denial of her security aids and the rest of that. So these are now the things that the court will determine whether it was even lawful. But the issue of Senator Natasha returning back to the Senate has become academic because the period of the suspension is over. So she's going to go. She doesn't need the court to tell her to go back. What the court will now determine is that for this 6 months, Senator Natasha was suspended. that was it lawful for her to have been suspended within that 6 months? Does she have any remedy in terms of damages that should be paid for her because she was suspended unlawfully or illegally? And then the other issue is, was it right for her salaries and privileges accruing to her as a senator to be stopped? And also for the good people of her constituency, whether they were treated right by denying them their voice and their representation at the Senate for that period of 6 months. That is basically what should be before the court, no longer whether she should be back or not.
Maduka, part of that letter, well, a particular condition given by the clerk in that letter is that she cannot return, she cannot resume because, that will be sub judice. The matter, the appeal is still before the Court of Appeal. But what's the position of the law as regards this? Should the pending appeal stop her from resumption?
And I've said so that a pending appeal cannot stop her from resumption because, it's just as Fubara is about to be recalled back to power in Rivers State. You can't say because there's a pending matter at the Supreme Court in respect of his suspension, that because of that he should not return until the Supreme Court determines it. The period is over. Like I said, there are certain aspects of that suit that has become academic. The Court of Appeal cannot be called upon to say, Senator Natasha, go back to the Senate, because even the wrong Senator Natasha complained of that made her go to court is that she should be suspended for 6 months. So the wrong itself, the period of time for the wrong is over. So the court cannot say go back, because except a fresh suspension is slammed on Senator Natasha. I don't know whether you understand me.
Yeah.
So there are situations, because, Nigeria is a peculiar place that due to the delay in adjudication of cases, there are times when matters become academic. Do you understand me? There are times when some aspects of a suit becomes academic. For example, there are numerous examples, but what the court does is that when the matter is up for hearing, the court will deal with what they call the live issues. Live issues are still the issues that are still, that still needs to be addressed at that point. But issues that are live issues, for example, issues that, become academic, because if the court is now determining whether Senator Natasha should go back or not, when the 6 month suspension is already over, is an academic exercise. Because the 6 months period is over.
Okay.
What the court can determine is whether that 6 month suspension was wrongful, and what remedy should accrue to her for being put out of the Senate for 6 months, as well as the people of her constituencies.
What's your point of view regarding the clerk of the National Assembly, writing to the duly elected, a 7th senator, telling her she cannot resume? Is that the due process? Is that how things should work?
It's very responsible, very, very responsible of the clerk. And I won't, the blame will go to the Senate leadership, because it's really, will I call it, it's really an affront to the judiciary and the independence of the judiciary. The Senate, it is not for the Senate to now start telling, a person or a party who is in court against the Senate to await the decision of the court. The court is independent. The court can speak by itself. Senator Natasha has lawyers. So if the Senate, the clerk wanted to even get such clarification, that should have been made through their lawyers and to the court, to ask the court that, pending when this appeal is determined, let this woman not return back, or let the senator not return back to the Senate. It is not for the clerk to say that it should await. A court can stop, there are what they call interim or preservative orders of a court, where a court can make some orders and say, this should not happen pending the hearing of this case. This should not happen. The court has not done that. It doesn't lie in the mouth of the clerk to make that statement. And like I said, the judiciary is also to be blamed for what we are saying today, because ordinarily, this matter came up before a judge of the Federal High Court who should have determined it. But when she was making her orders, she was giving an advisory opinion instead of making an order. Court rulings and orders should be couched in a language of command and coerciveness, because the court have the powers to do that. And it was very unfortunate that a situation that required a judge to make a definite order, the judge was giving an advisory opinion.
Do you sense, I mean, there were talks about the politicization of the suspension in the first place. It's now been 6 months, and she has made moves to resume, demanding that her office space be made available for her to continue legislative duties. Do you sense that beyond that suspension, now the resumption, that this is being politicized too? Do you think that the Senate leadership, which you referenced a moment ago, using the powers they have to further stifle the voice, not just of the senator representing Kogi Central, but indeed her constituent?
Well, you're very right. You were asking me a question. I would prefer you make that as a statement and not a question.
My job is to pose questions.
No, as it stands, not just the suspension has been politicized, but even the case, or will I say the case before the court in respect of that suspension has also been politicized. I don't know whether you understand me, because what has happened is Senator Natasha was suspended. She went to court. There was, she deemed that this was illegal, and the court failed to give her justice. The court fell for the same, the same politicization and victimization that happened within the chamber is happening in the court. And not just that the court has failed to give her what is definite. The court, because you have the situation in Nigeria where courts are giving judgments and orders that they are subject to 3 or 4 different interpretations. People go to court, and the court will give a judgment. You hear, the defendant will say, oh, the judgment says this. And the claimant will say, oh, this is what the judgment said. And the judgment itself, you are looking at it, it is not definitive. So it's as if there's the court itself has been crippled, it has been castrated. They cannot speak authoritatively and say, this is what the law on this issue should be. And when you now have that, it is the ordinary people that are suffering. See, people like Senator Natasha, her people are suffering because the court failed to give a definite pronouncement on this issue of whether her suspension was right or wrong. And that's why we even at the Court of Appeal now, where we are at the Court of Appeal, you can say the appeal is still on what should the court have said rightly or what it shouldn't have said. We are not even saying whether what the Senate did was right or wrong. So you see, the matter has been exacerbated and, would I say, made more difficult. This was a simple matter of suspension is lawful or is not lawful. But you see how it has, because of the failure of the court to come and say this is what, because this is not the first time, Kingsley. People have been suspended in the past.
Yeah.
They've got many times, both at the House of Assembly and National Assembly, Senate, in the House of Reps. And the courts will say that this is illegal or this is, and they come back. So you don't have this issue of there's an appeal and all.
Yeah, how is it that, there's precedence to follow, yet I know that in some cases, the court even further slams, the lawyer, the counsel representing such, client or such claimant, or even defendant who come to court because they are precedents. I know in some cases, correct me if I'm wrong, where the court has said, you're wasting time of the court. This has been decided already, by courts of competent jurisdiction in the country. Why bring this back? It's like you want to provoke the courts, to do more, to adjudicate on a matter that has been decided already. Why, in the first place, going by your last comment, there have been several cases before where the court has said this should not be, this is excessive, this should not stand. The Senate does not have the right to suspend one elected by his or constituents. Why is it difficult to simply rely on previous judgment?
Well, Kingsley, that's a very wonderful question. Nigeria, all institutions of state in Nigeria now are under state capture. We have to be frank. The judiciary, not an exception. So what was easy for the courts to pronounce on so many years ago, in years past, those you don't have them now anymore. It's very, very, very difficult to get the courts to be able to look into the face of those in power and speak truth to them. We've lost that. That era is gone. The court has so been beaten down, and I don't know. I think it's part of the mistake we made in 2015 by electing the current political party in power. Because what started from 2015, we saw this gradual beat down of the judiciary, you know, when the House of Supreme Court judges were raided, judges were arrested, and the rest of that. You had the judiciary being weakened, but it is not, it has never been this bad. Because these are very clear things, you know, beyond just Natasha's case, because you said there is a precedent. Beyond Natasha's case, we have the case in Rivers State, where a state of emergency was imposed. And up till now, the Supreme Court is yet to hear the suit challenging the state of emergency. All the suits filed in different courts challenging the state of emergency and the actions of the sole administrator in Rivers State, none of them has been heard and concluded. So it is, well, I will say the judiciary has been captured by the state, or forces of the state. It is what it is. We have to be very frank.
All right. We've got to go, you know, but just before we go, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. A lot has been said already concerning Senator Natasha's resumption and this block by the Senate telling her, no, you cannot resume now until the Court of Appeal rules on the matter before the court. But what does this mean for the credibility of the Senate? I mean, it's been battered, you know, in the past, especially with this Senator Natasha situation. You know, suspension, there were debates, oh, did she do right? Did she behave well? You know, was she worthy of the suspension in the first place? That divided, you know, the country along party lines, along, you know, different sentimental lines, if you like. But with this block now, you know, it sort of shape shifts, if you like, the situation. But from your standpoint, what does this mean for the credibility of the Nigerian Senate, especially this 10th Assembly led by Senator Godswill Akpabio?
Well, my brother, we have to be very frank. Currently, as it stands, you know, this the Senate, you're talking about credibility. This Senate, the current National Assembly, is, will I say, the least in credibility, character, and reputation. You know, we've had a lot of things. It's a rubber stamp legislature, you know. There are no checks on the, in fact, it's the extension of the executive arm, because you have them approving loan requests and no proper oversight over executive duties and all. So you can't be talking about credibility when we're talking about this type of Senate or the National Assembly as currently constituted. So there is no credibility, there is no character. So we have a situation where we have people who do not even feel a sense of, shame, and or try to project an image of being above, will I call it, victimization, corruption, and the rest of that. Even what led to this issue of Natasha's suspension is not something that should be heard outside. It borders on the Senate President, leadership of the Senate, being accused of sexually harassing somebody, and the same Senate leadership sat over the suspension of that person. So when you talk about credibility, I don't think you're doing justice to the issue. It doesn't apply here. The current Senate, led by Akpabio, cannot stand side by side with the word credibility or character in any conversation or in any context. It's out of it. We have to be frank.
Well, one wonders what happens next. The clerk in that letter did, you know, call Senator Natasha's attention to the exact date the suspension should expire. I think in that letter I mentioned specifically September 4. But it's what? It's days past that already. We'll see how things go. One wonders too, with this drama happening in the Nigerian Senate, what kind of distraction this would be for legislative duties. They claim that it's not distracting legislative duties. Plus, what does this mean too for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and her constituents? They've been deprived of that representation for 6 months. We'll see how things go even further. Will this extend even maybe to more months, maybe another 6 months. Time will tell. My guest, Maduka Mukeme, did reference Rivers State, where the state of emergency was declared in the same month of March, very close to the date Senator Natasha was suspended. Well, again, the country is waiting with bated breath to see what will happen come September 18, 2025. Will the president take to the screens again to, address the nation concerning the river situation? We'll see how that goes. Time will tell. Maduka Mukeme, barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, I'd like to thank you so much for joining the conversation and sharing your thoughts on Senator Natasha's move to return to the Senate. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Stop by the comment section. Let me know what you make of the conversation. Do you think that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is being fairly treated by her colleagues at the Senate, particularly the leadership of the Nigerian Senate? Well, I'd like to know what you think. What do you think the Senate is right with the way it's been handled? Are you satisfied with how things are going regarding this matter? Let's get talking in the comment section. Kingsley Bass is my name. It's been HOMO POLITICUS on Enterprise Television. Until next time, I say may God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Bye for now.